Good. Welcome out to CraftBox Design Hours. We're glad you guys can all be here today. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, so thank you for showing up and participating. We are lucky to have Ghostlight Creative. You can see from their website right here. We have Ray Sanchez, who's the principal and the co-founder of Ghostlight Creative. And we also have Christian Salas, and she is the development director, and she manages a bunch of the marketing and target audience. They both have a great amount of work that they do and contribute to the company. So let's give them all a big round of applause or hand for being here. With that, I'll turn the time over to Ghostlight.
Thank you very much for having us here today. I think we'll keep everything pretty loose, kind of like a work session. You know, if you have any, we're going to cover 3 specific areas, and then we'll have questions or whatever, go back and forth afterward. But we had a little... All right, so we have come in a DeLorean. It's parked outside, and have come from your future as creatives and as designers. And in your future, we saw a lot of mistakes and a lot of frustration and heartaches and a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas. And we're here to help you avoid some of those. We saw a lot of missed opportunities, and we're going to teach you how to take advantage of those. And there's a lot of huge opportunities that are veiled as something else, that are not labeled as design, but they really are design, and they're amazing and awesome. And so we saw that in your future. We said, let's get in that car, let's take it to 88, and let's pop back into 2017 with a lot of, and the Libyans too, we know about the Libyans. So we carry all that knowledge with us, and we parked it outside, and we just came in here, and we figured we'd give you some insight about all of that, if that's okay with you. All right? So, without further ado, I guess I'll introduce Christian Salas, who's our development director. And she's going to talk about, basically from an employer's perspective, as we've taken a lot of portfolios and emails and walk-ins and people just curious and phone calls that are like, hey, can I work? And so we want to talk to you about that experience.
Yeah, so we get a lot of resumes, a lot of submissions through our website of graphic designers looking for work or creatives looking for work. And there's a couple of things that really separate people, right? What we really like to see in resumes or in portfolios or in just different, when we meet people. One of the big things is, obviously the first thing we're going to look at is your portfolio, right? Your resume, what does that look like? But once we meet people, something that we look for personally is what you've done outside of school. So we already know what the classes require of students. We know the critique, we know the projects. We get a lot of UTEP and NMSU students, so we know what you have to do in order to get your bachelor's degree. What we're really looking for, though, are for those students that say, oh, well, I helped out at this nonprofit, or for the El Paso Zoo, I actually designed a flyer because they had this event coming up. Or I helped this nonprofit design their website. I'm like, what? Wow. That really stands out to us, because to us, we need people to take initiative. We need people that are going to learn on their own to try to bring that skill set, those talents, those abilities to Ghostlight Creative. With Ghostlight, there's about 8-9 of us in the company, and so we tend to wear a lot of hats sometimes. And the more skills we have, the better we are as a company, right? So we want to see that initiative. We want to see that people are eager to learn. That's really important. We want to see that they're able to take direction from people outside of their school setting. Because a lot of times some of the interns that come into play, they say, oh yeah, I designed this. Cool, how long did it take you? I said, right, this is the first one of the first questions we ask. And they'll say, oh, it was a 2-month project. Yeah, okay, what else have you done? And then we go through it and say, how long did that take you? Oh, it was about a month project. That's great. We got to do that in 2 hours, right? So it's a little bit different. But if we can see that you have experience outside of the school setting, then we understand that you understand that urgency, that sense of urgency, that being able to take criticism from someone outside of your school, that's not a teacher, right? That you can take the criticism from a client and be able to interpret that, and then what do you do with it? That's really important, I think.
Yeah, diversity is the number one word that we would encourage. If you are going to want to be hired, whether it's full-time, part-time, or as a contractor, is as a graphic designer specifically, I would say we'd look for diversity. Now, the given is that the portfolio is awesome. Okay, it's got to look good. I mean, we definitely, we don't even have a conversation until that portfolio is totally in shape. And then I'll also say that, if you're not the greatest writer in the world, get somebody in the English department who is, to copy edit your resume, because that makes a big deal too. If they're, the context of El Paso and Las Cruces and kind of the Ciudad Juarez in northern Mexico area is that it's not union, it's not huge, that the industry is not really big compared to other places in the creative or graphic arts. Okay, so the chances of you making a living here and getting hired on by a firm and you only doing graphic design all day, every day, and just loving it and going home and that's it, are pretty low. Okay, the chances of you needing to apply graphic concepts and communication concepts to all types of media and moving forms and portable forms is pretty darn high. The chances of the agencies and shops that are here, creative shops, communication, public relation firms here in this area, not being really developed in social media and in mobile media or in a lot of the new things that are coming out, guerrilla marketing or something that's out of context, right? Some of the real creative, cool stuff that you've seen and read about. People want to do that. Companies want to execute that. It's just, I think they're limited by the people that they have. And so there are a lot of good graphic designers in my experience now. I started in '97 working in full-time professionally, and it wasn't nearly as prolific as it is now. There was big gaps. It's like everything, in my opinion, just kind of sucked. And if we could just get a good designer and show our work, you could really stand out. Well, now it's really competitive in terms of strict graphic design. There's a lot of good graphic design. I'm very impressed about the talent that's coming out, the work that's coming out. It's way more than it was when I got out of school. So what's going to set you apart? And that word is diversity. If you can kind of do some sketches on your own, or you can say, well, I don't just graphic design, I also illustrate. Well, that's great. If you do that in your house, but apply it. Get involved. Kind of a metaphor or a story anecdote or something that you can use is, in Hollywood, people want to become actors, and a professional full-time actor will have their side jobs that have kind of nothing to do with entertainment, and then they go audition over and over again. We like to say in our company, there's no hiring where we work, there's only casting. We have projects that come up that need roles filled out, okay? And we need the designer role filled out. And that's great. But as an actor, if all you can offer us is graphic designer, well, that's cool. We'll let you know when that project comes up. But if you come up and you said, I did a little video editing and I applied that, or I know how to export graphics, I know what the safe area is for these kind of screens and broadcasts, and I know all the technical stuff, I can output graphics for video. Oh, well, come on in. Mm-hmm. Web, I know how that translates and what I got to do pixel-wise here, and then I got to do alternative images so they can reformat for phones. I know about all that, okay? And I work in the environment. Now, I gave my time, to this event, and I gave my time here, and maybe no one was there to teach you how, but because you were giving your time, you had a lot of leeway. Your margin of error was pretty big because they're willing to, it's a nonprofit. So you went in there and just started like breeding up real quick and said, oh, okay, here's how adapt images for mobile, or here's how I'm going to edit this video for me. Well, it's not like you're going to be the main video editor, but the fact that you can kind of fix some things, or you know enough about a timeline to put something together real quick for social media, you know, that can make the difference between you getting on somewhere and you not. There's a lot of graphic design resumes and portfolios, but then on top it's like web development and graphics for web, graphics for video and video editing, and graphic designer. That guy's going to get, or that gal is going to get a conversation. So diversification is key. That's the number one thing there, right?
Yeah, I would say too, maybe onto our next point, is just like Ray was talking about, you have to have different set of skills to try to get hired, but then it's also really important to create your own opportunities within our region. So I'll give you an example. I was actually a PR major, minor in marketing, and then I started realizing I don't know if I really like this PR stuff. So I went to KFox, and I was originally going to get an internship as a journalist, but I already kind of knew I didn't want that route. And so they said, well, we have this creative services department, and it's video editing. It's creating commercials. And I was like, oh, I actually knew video editing. So I thought, okay, I'll check it out. Well, fast forward a couple months into the summer, and I learned about Ghostlight Creative. So I actually approached them, and because they were doing a lot of video at the time, and I knew the video editing, I was like, yeah, come on in. Well, I ended up being hired full-time as a project manager. Had nothing to do with the video editing capabilities. But because I got my foot in the door, and once I was there, I was taking on different projects, and I was fortunate enough to where they saw my capabilities and would trust me with different projects, to where they saw where I could fit within the organization. So I think that's really important, just to be able to be confident enough and have the skill set to go in, but then also once you're in there, be willing to learn whatever it is that they have an opportunity for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so once you've developed that diversity, and you've got what you feel is a pretty good resume and a lot to offer to people, then it's a matter of finding the right opportunity, and those opportunities, it's something I talked about when music was playing. They may not look like opportunities for graphic designers right away. There was a young man by the name of Philip Cooper who graduated from NMSU with a degree in art, and he was looking for a job in art or graphic design or something along those lines. And at that time, you'd look in the newspaper, and he saw an ad for a job that said looking for an art engineer or something like that. And he said, well, I'm not an engineer, I'm just an artist. And he does some sculpting and things like that. And but he responded anyway. And he says, hey, I was real curious about the way that was worded. I do art, and I took sculpting class, and I like to tinker. What are you guys, what are you looking for? Well, long story short, it ended up being the company that produced all of the puppets for the Broadway show of The Lion King, okay, under Julie Taymor's direction. And so he got hired on, out of New Mexico State as an art major to build puppets. He said, well, we need somebody who can make puppets. He said, what puppets? It's like, yeah, like, we need these big things. And so he got hired for The Lion King, but that company was out of Portland, and they also did some major puppets for the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics when they did it. Some like 2-3 story high creatures that were dancing in the opening ceremonies, and on and on and on. They've done things all over the world, and he got on with that company. And then he had since left. He followed Julie Taymor, which is the director of the Lion King, over. He now lives in Brooklyn, and he's doing work directly with them. But he started as an art major, and yeah, he worked on the Broadway show, the puppets that they saw. He actually helped design some of those. So sometimes from an ad in a paper, right, you could dismiss something real quickly because it didn't fit what you were taught was your skill set. But if you're willing to, I guess he had a why not attitude, you know, and say, yeah, you know, not doing anything now, let's see what they have to offer. Maybe sometimes it's a vacuum cleaner salesperson ad, but sometimes it's that, right? And because he said, yes, I can do it, or I'm sure I'll figure it out, you know, he got his foot in the door and he did figure it out. You know, Jim Henson was a graphic designer. That was his training, was in graphic design. But they didn't need artwork. They had a lot of people who could do artwork. What they needed was somebody different to sell Wilkins coffee. You know, I had never heard of Wilkins coffee until I started researching Jim Henson, right? And does this have audio by any chance? Or
yeah, it should.
It should? Because if we go to YouTube and pull up Wilkins coffee, you'll see quickly an example of what a graphic designer did to make opportunity where there didn't appear to be. Let's see if we can get Wilkins.
I want to blast everybody out.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Okay, so this graphic designer had to make coffee commercials. And he was silly and corny.
Have a cup of Wilkins instant coffee? Wild horses couldn't make me. Okay, give me a cup.
All right, and they go on and on. They're great. Okay, I'll just I'll pause it real quick. And they're awesome. Kind of looks like Telly, doesn't it? This back in the '60s. Okay, so this graphic designer said, "Well, you know, can you help us sell some coffee?" And he could have said, "Well, I'm a graphic designer. I don't make puppets," right? He didn't. He could have said, "Well, I'm a graphic designer, not a copywriter." He didn't. He wrote those. Okay? And how hard are they? You know? A guy with a blindfold throwing knives at a target. Do you drink Wilkins coffee? No? Okay, then I'll do this blindfolded. The guy runs away. That's a 5-second commercial in an era of 2-minute commercials. You know, Homeboy had social media ready, stuff ready to go. And the thing was, how simple is that? Right? But he was a graphic designer. So he knew, basically he was trained to what looks good. Right? Well, the medium didn't matter to him. Okay? Unfortunately, in your graphic design classes, you probably didn't take scissors and cut fabric. Or bend foam. Or find out what glue does to certain types of foam. Or what types of chemical create certain finishes. But by the time you get the structure done, then he was graphic designing what looks good on the puppet and what, you know, this will come off to an audience pretty well. He had the eye, he had the training, but he applied his graphic design to this area and he went off and did what we all knew he did. Okay? Homeboy over here at NMSU with an art degree did what he did, and he's doing what he's doing now. And we almost got him to build some puppets for El Paso Opera, but they were too scared and they couldn't approve it. Ad agency is only as strong as its account executives, and I couldn't convince them to take their whole budget and make 2-3-story high puppets and have these random acts of drama from Madame Butterfly appear in San Jacinto Plaza downtown that would stop traffic, and we'd invite the media to, that they'd get more press than they could have ever bought with the commercials, which is too scary. And that director's no longer with us. I'm still there. But I was talking to Philip at the time. I said, "Hey man, we're gonna do this. It's gonna, all right, okay." He was in Brooklyn. I was so excited. Like, you know, pulling something like that off. It's like, you know who did this? Or you know how much press they would have gotten? But anyway, so those are coming from the future of opportunities that you miss and some that you hit, right? So I don't know if you all ever considered making a puppet or messing with a puppet, or if you considered writing cartoons. If you come in with us and you say, "Here's some cartoons I wrote," and the sketches are good and the cartoons are okay, maybe a little cheesy, but you wrote them, That says a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
That says a bunch, because we know. I mean, creative directors, they know this, and so they're just waiting. And most of the time, graphic designers are guilty of underselling themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they won't care about this. You never know. Like, everybody's into music. A graphic designer that plays music, we've had those, and they can edit video like that because they know timing, they know how to, they have a sense of appropriateness in time. So they can graphic design over time. So it's not just two-dimensional, they've got time in there. So it's four-dimensional all quick. It's like, musicians are dope. Musicians are dope. Okay, I was one, and a partner that co-founded the company was one. Our web developer, he was an IT guy, but he's a musician, he was a drummer. So we got him to edit video. He really hadn't done that. He kind of did off to the side, but we didn't know. And so he did for us, and he created really a good template for some social media ads that we needed to some music. He was up for it.
Graphic designers that have photography background, they're amazing.
Because they're designing while they're framing.
Taking pictures.
They're composing shots, but they're already putting text in the shot when you're way out at the thing. So by the time the shots come back, it's different than just a pure photographer. Because a photographer has beautiful shots. We just got to tell them, hey, give us a lot of space, and then we bring in and we can slide the focal point around, and then we can make an ad or whatever out of it. And then it's not just this anymore. It's this,
It's close-ups of texture.
Yeah.
The graphic designer knows they're going to put on the background or as a texture or an overlay. It's amazing.
On a project, see, she's kind of like an account executive, and she goes off, sets a contract, sets the parameters for the project, and comes back, and then we're designing away on our side, right? I'm like creative director and everything. We're doing something awesome. We're doing this, and you show a comp, and she's like, "That's great," and then show it to the client. That's amazing, approved, and then go back to the designers. It's like, okay, well, we need those 8 stock photos to make it happen. Well, we didn't budget for that. I said, well, that's what went in the comp. It's like, oh man. All right, so nobody does any comps that involve stock photos without telling the designer. Well, photographers build their own stock photography library. So if you're comping on original work, you don't have to go, it doesn't impact the budget. You don't have to have that conversation on the production side. But graphic designers don't have that understanding. So if you are building your own set of stock for the company or for the project, and you can say, look, this is all original. Everything in the comp is original, so we're good to go budget-wise, or here's what it would cost. It's a big difference. And when you come into an interview and you tell them that, I can take pictures, and I'll take pictures of textures, and I'll come prepackaged with all this stuff, and I'll let you know when we need stock, but in most cases, I can take pictures that don't need stock. You just got the attention of the person who's going to hire you. It's like, this person is considerate budgets? What? You're hired. You're hired and promoted at the same time. Serious.
We have a graphic designer. She's actually a sculptor. And she creates these just incredible sculptures. I think she sold one to the city of El Paso recently, too.
Public art.
Public art. Mm-hmm. But she loves graphic design, too. And so we wanted to bring her on our team because we design physical spaces, right? We create not just a story by websites and logos and print collateral, presentation folders, but we create an experience through physical spaces as well. What we found out was as we were putting ads and billboards and TV spots, when people would come to the actual space, that same feeling and sense they got on our ads was not the same feeling that they had when they walked into the clinic office or the doctor's office. All right, so then we started creating these physical spaces. So we love that she had this understanding of how to make things and understanding how to create this, manipulate different objects and materials so that she can help us with our enviro projects, environmental graphic design.
Yeah, enviro projects. Well, and then because of her skill as a sculptor, we had the confidence to go to a client and say, look, this one client's opening up basically a volleyball center, a gym or something they're going to build from the ground up that has volleyball courts and pickleball courts, and to help promote and build a campaign, we had some non-traditional projects to promote them, and one was a parade float. So we said, we'll build you a parade float. Now, I wasn't exactly sure how or what the design was going to be or how it was going to, anything like that. I just knew we had a sculptor and would figure it out, right? And because of that, being able to work in space and with materials, we did figure it out. Now, she designed some things on it, and then she was, flew out of town on the weekend, so me and another guy went and actually built the darn thing and changed it all on the fly. But because she was on staff, we sold it. So it gave us capabilities. And so now we're like, hey, you need a parade float? We'll come up with something. And we'll sell it, and we don't know, and then we'll design it after we sell it. But it's okay because we can, and because we have a diverse group of designers. We don't just have graphic designers. Because if all we have is graphic designers, pretty much all we sell is, logos and brochures and, social media 2D stuff. So I guess we've driven the point home on diversity. But another point that we had is how to create your own opportunities in freelancing.
Mm-hmm. Any freelancers in here? Anyone looking to freelance? Okay. Just wanted to know how much you should focus or how much you should say in that area.
Well, and you could be gainfully employed and next month be a freelancer suddenly. I've been doing this for 18 years, man. I'm telling you the truth. I actually see it. And I couldn't get hired either. Right? I tried. Hey, here's my resume. I'm a copywriter, or, something. And, I had a hard time getting hired. So, I worked for a company for a year, and then they downsized, so I went out and put the resume out again and couldn't get anything, but I had a few clients, so let's just kind of open up our own deal real quick, and we've got a little momentum with these people, and so I launched off, right? And so this is basically, Christian's going to talk to you about lessons learned during that launch off period when you're kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own now. So we'll transition into what it's like to be on your own in this corner of the world.
Yeah, so in freelancing, or really in selling anything to your client, your most important piece is your relationship with them. It doesn't matter what you create or how beautiful it is. If we don't have their trust, it won't get approved, right? So our relationships with our clients are very important. It's not necessarily just something we do by email, by phone calls. It's face-to-face. It's stopping by, even if they're busy, just to help them out. One of the most important things I probably learned was I'm an introvert. I don't really like having to talk to people or to sell to people.
So she's stating it right now.
Yeah. I'm sweating right now. I'm quite the introvert, and so for me to have to go and sell something, I'm like, I'm sorry, but can you please buy this? Right? So that was really hard for me. But then understanding, no, this is a service that they need, that we can truly help them. That they have something out there that's just, it's hurting them more than helping them. And we have the talent, we have the capabilities, we have the team, we have the experience to say, let us help you, right? And so when I looked at it that way, okay, I'm able to help people, it was much easier for me to go in there and to be able to sell their services, to offer our help, really. And with the client relationship, also understanding in the grand scheme of their world, they're busy, right? So if you go in there and telling them about their website, well, they have something that's already up, but you know it can be better, right? You know the functionality, the design, or whatever it may be, can be so much better. But they're dealing with employee issues, they're dealing with trying to collect from their clients, they're dealing with 100 other things compared to our website, right? And what we're trying to get from them. So what I learned is that if I'm ever waiting on, maybe we submitted a design for the website and I haven't heard anything back, right? You don't hear anything back, you don't hear anything back. Well, when you don't hear anything back, that means you can't collect, right? You can't pay yourself. So that's delaying your livelihood because they're not responding. So then it's emails, it's phone calls, and then it's dropping in, right? And I used to be very intimidated in dropping in because I felt like I was bothering them. And the truth is, you probably are. You might be, but then I realized, because I was in front of them, they thought, oh yeah, I've been meaning to, I just haven't had a chance to. And because I stopped by at their office and took a 15-minute meeting, they gave me all this information, and they said, oh yeah, can you do this brochure too? I need this too. I was like, I thought they hated us. Right? Here I thought they didn't want to move forward with the website, but it's just because they're busy. And so that's just so important to understand with your relationships with your clients, is that you want to help them, and so you want to be in front of them as much as possible. And if you're freelancing in the region, especially if you have that opportunity, once you're working remotely and you have clients out of town, that's a lot harder to do. You know, it's a lot easier for someone to say no to you over the phone or over email. But once you're in front of them, it's a lot harder, right? Because you're building this relationship with them. So that's really important. I think the second thing, just advice that I could give from talking to our graphic designers and then talking to clients, the big one is probably the interpreting needs of the client. So there's many times where I'll be in a meeting and we'll be looking at a design. Let's say it's an ad, okay? And the client will say, I don't know, I think I want that font to be red instead. And you know that if it became red, it would be the most hideous thing in the world, right? It's just like, that goes against everything. But then I have to come back and talk to our graphic designer. And if you're freelancing, you're having to have all these thoughts internally of, okay, does the client really want it red, or does it mean that they want it more featured, more highlighted? The point that they're trying to get across isn't being featured. So then what I would recommend to you all in trying to interpret their needs is, one, do what they ask you to do to start with, but then second comp, do what you would be proud of, right? And what you think you're trying to interpret from them. Okay, if I change this font that they're talking about to a different color, if I make it a little bit bigger, if I change the type of font and I feature it more, and I'm really happy with this one, like I would actually submit this for an Addy, not the one they told me to do, but this one, then present that too. Because 9 times out of 10, when we do that with our design, they love the one we created that's not following their instructions. So I would definitely recommend that if you can.
Well, yeah, it's the shift that we're making is, and the first part of what we were talking about is how to be the best professional you can be, and that is to be the most diverse profession. This shift is going to be how to be the best executive, which is where you start taking in the leadership role of managing a client. Now, that's not for everyone, but if you can get proficient at having these conversations with the client, you might have more opportunities where people won't hire you. Your life won't be in their hands. You can claim your career back into your control, right? If you're just willing to develop those skills. So articulating and presenting and being able to speak, and then beyond that, understand. That's a different skill set outside of making a puppet, of making a website, of shooting a video or a photograph, of graphic design or sculpting. See, that's that next layer of communication, right? Interpersonal communication. But so we are challenging you with that, but in that same challenge, every time you face a challenge, if you really look at it, you're going to see at least 2 opportunities. Okay? Every time we have a setback, we always punch back in our business. And I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker, but you have to. Because it's not to become a success and get in front of a lot of people. It's so that we can survive and have a paycheck the next month. Okay, you have to look at things that way. You have to believe, as cheesy as, especially in a college setting and everything, everybody's so critical and breaks down anybody who's, the positivity gets kind of dissected a little bit. But when you're out there and really making a living for yourself and then eventually your family off of what you're doing, you're going to have to kind of build a paradigm for yourself. And you have to just say, okay, I'm going to be, I believe I'm a good professional, but let's take it to, let me be a good executive. And executive means can you collect people under you so that you can transfer what's in your head over to them, and then they can help you out? Oh, I got my buddy, I took graphic design classes with him, and he's not doing much right now. Hey man, can you kind of work on this? Because I got to go talk to this other person. They wanted a second brochure. I mean, I only had one client before, and I can handle that, but now I got 3, and can you help me do that logo? And then I can go talk to him about this other logo I made, because I got to present that. You start running into like 2 meetings on the same day type thing. But the other side of that is income. Is being able to say, on Tuesday I'm going to go to an all-day seminar. On Friday we're going to go to an MCU and talk to some people. And while our art director and our project manager are taking an initial creative meeting with a client as we speak right now, which is what's happening. Why? Because our art director has been forced to become more articulate, right? So we need his help. And a lot of times clients respect your point of view if you respect your point of view. You know, the thing is, a lot of times they say, please tell me why I like this. They're not saying that, but if you listen carefully behind the I want it red, they're really saying, please tell me why I like this. Okay, so we have a set of rules that you can use. See, maybe they're expressed here, maybe even if they're not, it's related. Okay, and it's not like you can read from here, but I'm going to just scroll it down here so you can see what we do. Okay, the rules is, who is this for, is number 1. It's a number 1 question to ask when you're sitting with a client. All right, who is this for? Right? Why? Because the audience is most important. Their point of view. Okay? If you're working to make your client happy, you guys both might end up pretty frustrated. Because they said make it red, and you grudgingly made it red, and you don't like it, and then they got it, and they're like, well, let's do something else, and they're sitting there acting like a graphic designer when you're the one that went to school, and you're thinking you're there to please them, and both of your focus is all messed up. Okay? You're sitting on the same side of the table as your client. Let's say Christian's my client. We're on the same team, but I'm not here to please her. I'm here to please her customers. Okay, her clients. And it may be that she doesn't know how to communicate with her client. She just knows how to make a good product that solves a problem in their life. But that doesn't mean she knows how to make it look cool, right? So the owners of Converse, I guarantee you, are not 13-year-old little girls. I promise you they're not. You know, there's probably a giant panel of, 50-something-year-old guys that look nothing like the girls that are wearing them. And somehow these people that are making millions of dollars running this company need somebody to come in here and speak to those little girls. Okay? So they may not agree. We always tell people we're probably not going to agree. And you're probably not going to like everything that we came up with, but your audience will. And if your audience doesn't, then we'll adjust it. But we're on the same side to please them, and we think that if we make them happy, then you will be happy because you'll like the results. And we lay that groundwork from the beginning. So the number 1 is, who is this for? That's the question you would ask. The second one, when you're freelancing, is what's important. But what's important, if you can come back to those words, what's important? Well, what's important is that they know this. Okay, great. It never has to get to that needs to be read. Okay, how is your responsibility. But if you come back with an ad or a comp or a presentation that has the important stuff important, then there's nothing they can say. So you emphasize importance, and here it is. Big old word right there. And it looks awesome. Okay, it looks cool, right? Because if it's hideous, the audience is going to say, well, I hate it, and I'm not sure why. Because they don't understand graphic design. They just like, oh, right? It's in their windshield, under their windshield wiper.
And it's so important, like Ray is saying, for you to be able to articulate your design. So I'll sit in a meeting with our graphic designers before I go and meet with the client, and I'll say, tell me everything about this design of this logo. And then I'll be devil's advocate, and I say, okay, but is this too masculine? Or is this fun? You know, what kind of fun is this? They're like, well, it's more adventurous, not necessarily Lucky Charm fun, but adventurous fun. right? And so I need to have that understanding though, because they put all that thought into their design. When they were choosing the colors, when they were choosing that particular curve right there, all of that took some time and thought. But if I don't understand that and if I can't articulate that to the client, then that's when the client comes back and says, well, could you just change that? And I'll say, well, the reason behind that was blah, 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 blah. And then after that, they're impressed with the amount of thought that we put into it. And then they're like, instead of saying change it, they're just like, I like it, right? So don't be afraid. You already put all the thought into it. You've done all the work. Now it's just a matter of you putting it into words so that they can understand it. Because they won't understand it at all just by seeing the logo or the
And you can come back to those, who's this for, what's important. The other ones is when's it due, right? And then fourth is what's the budget. All those things are going to affect your work. They will direct, whether you ask it or not. The only thing is, we've only figured it out in the last few years that those are the questions. We've always operated within those constraints. We just never articulated it to ourselves. But once we articulate it, and then we put all these rules out to the client right from the beginning, the client's all happy at the beginning, right? They really haven't spent any money. They're excited. They like your portfolio. That's why you're talking to them. They're super happy. At that point, you can set all these rules down. All right, man. I want to make you mad sometimes. Just tell you, oh, that's okay, man. I'm telling you, later it's going to be like, remember that time? Yes. Okay, well, we're at that point. Let's work through this. Okay. If you don't have that perspective, if you don't have a DeLorean that you can go to the future, learn, and then come back and tell your client, this is why we're telling you, because, man, we got burned so many times. You know, the first so many years was us getting controlled by clients. And then it was eventually us having the guts to control the clients and know why and how we should control them. And then control changed and became more professional, became the word consult and partner with. And then we started to figure it out. All right. See, because it's real combative when it's just you and your creatives and, yeah, F them, man. You know, it's just, you know, they're stupid. There's a lot of this. They're stupid. And then we still say that, okay? We're still just pulling, because it's fun. We have the Hall of Shame of worst clients ever and all that stuff. Because we got to get it off our freaking chest, you know? But then we compose ourselves and then throw it to her. You get up there and you tell them, we're not going to do this. And then she goes. And sometimes we come in and we say, what's important? Well, you know, we sell burritos and we sell tacos. And burritos are more important because they make way more money per burrito than tacos do, right? Okay, and the graphic designers get it, and you know what? They like the way the taco's shaped. So then they do a taco shape, and the whole design's based on taco and burritos. And so we get it, and we come back, and it's like, you know, presentations later this afternoon, here's the comp, and Christian's like, what the crap? Yeah, well, the taco, look at how it is. It's like a setting sun and all. No, man, this is a burrito thing. So then, you know, this is why we didn't have the what's important question that we would ask. So when we have what's important, it gets down to the creative team. This is what's important. Oh, wouldn't it be neat if we could design for tacos and then everybody creates about tacos? That's cool, but we got to do a burrito, so figure it out. That's real life, man. It's real freaking life. When we go back this afternoon, those are the faces going to be made. I promise you. Okay, so it's just a matter of how do you get beyond the professionals and get into the executive and solve it, right? And we have a set of criteria. We have a set of rules. You know, we have the 100 start at 100% rule. You know, they're very happy, and then the account just starts to kind of get not as fun after that. Well, we have a time limit rule. Okay, this project, you know, if we finish this project on this date, it's going to be this much. Okay, if it goes beyond, I got to tack on this fee. Trust me, just freaking do it. Because the clients will drag it out. They'll never get back to you. You'll never get paid your next chunk that you need. They don't care. They're going on. You're like depending on the next $500 for your next month. I mean, crap. And they're not getting back to me. You're not providing a service. You're in a partnership. And you need them to give you feedback and content in order for you to give them designs and output files. Right? And if they don't carry through, which a lot of times they're very fired up about ideas, but they're innovator leaders and not implementer leaders. So they have these ideas, monorail, and then they don't carry it out. Then you get your down payment and you never see the rest of it. And they're cool with it because, hey, I lost that money, but I never took it further. And you were like, man, I was counting on that whole job. And you're out. And you lose, not them. So there's that, there's the who's is for, what's important, when's it due, and what's the budget. The idea that your work is here and you have quality here, time here, and budget here. And they're all pulling against each other. I want this quality, I have this budget, and I have this time. Ready, go. I'm like, hold on a second. You're gonna have to, feed more of, give me some more time and I can get you better quality. Or if you're cool with this quality, let's pull back on the paper because you don't have the budget. You gotta know it and have the conversations while they're happy. Because if you go down the road and they're a little frustrated and then you try to tell them, look, we're kind of out of scope, stuff starts to it gets out of control when you're just the one freelancer and they know it, they smell blood, and you're doing a work for hire. That's why I brought this book right here. Totally recommend. There's notes and everything, and it's all active. And I have a laptop and I work off a laptop. I don't have a desktop, right? And every day I put this and I put the laptop on top. Why? So the laptop in the back can air out, right? It's not sitting flat on the deal, but it's sitting on this book. It's usually on this or the AP copybook, right? And I have both of those. Why? Because, and I pull them out. Usually when I'm the angriest, I got to get into this book because this is the thing that defends your life and your livelihood. What is copyright? What do I owe you? What did I put in that estimate? Any rights not transferred explicitly remain the property of the creator. Copyright is good for the author's life plus 70 years. So it's like, we own this, right? Well, no, I have to transfer it in writing and I didn't. So technically I own it. You just paid for the use of it. And now that use period is over. And set a term. You can use this logo for 5 years and then turn it over. And they don't care, they'll use it. And at 5 years, it's like, hey, bro, you owe me some more money. But you tell them at the beginning. It's like, I really charge this much for a logo, but you don't have a lot, so I'll let you use the logo for 5 years at this much. And at 5 years, they just started their business. That seems like forever. So they'll do it, and they'll pay you. And then if they're still around in 5 years, chances are they're more successful. And then you send them a letter, hey, later this year, it's going to come due, man. You want to keep using the logo, here it is. It's not mean, as long as you told them from the beginning and you put it in writing and they signed it when they were happy and excited. Who cares? 5 years from now, I'll be rich. I'll be able to pay you the rest of that. Well, what do? You get money right now, and then you get money 5 years from now for doing nothing more. You didn't put 1 minute of time into that project, and you get more money. Why? Because you had this book. So get this book and read it, and go through all these Post-its, because each of these Post-its represents a battle, an argument, and stress, and somebody's paycheck, but so-and-so said this, and can you believe they're pulling? And these are not battles with a taco owner. These are hospitals. These are big institutions that you currently respect, that once you start working with them, you're going to come away as like, oh, man, how are they in business? And you know what? They're not always in business. We've outlived a ton of companies. And we've actually told companies, don't do this or you're going to go out of business. And they're out of business. And there were big ones and much bigger than us. Children's Hospital in El Paso, Well, they went bankrupt. That's a public thing, right? Yeah. You went bankrupt. And we were coming in complaining about how they operated. Like, that's horrible. They shouldn't treat their people that way. What's wrong with them? We're like the canary in the mine. We don't get to talk to the CEO. There's some important things that we need to freaking tell them. Well, that CEO's like, who knows where now, man. They've been through 4 already.
Do we have time for questions?
Sure,
I know we're kind of running out of time.
Oh, yeah, questions.
So just from like a creative standpoint, from when you want to, like you were saying, to move from like you doing all the work to becoming an executive, from that point to that point, how do you control kind of like your brand and what you want to do? Because I know like we create things and it's tough personally for me to like let something go. So like when I edit a video or something, like to let that go and let someone else touch that is weird for me. So how do you get over that kind of like weirdness of someone else touching your work, because you know eventually, hey, you want to get up to the executive branch and move down from there. So how do you kind of get over that?
Okay, there's a 2-step process that we used, and it wasn't on purpose. It's just what happened. The beginning part of our business, now, Ghostlight was founded in 2006. So this is 11 years on January 31st, okay? And then before then I was independent in 97 as Idea Advertising, okay? But the 2 phases were, one was apprenticeship. Christian, come here, you listen to my phone calls. Speakerphone client, she listens, and eventually she got it. Okay, once we got over that, we started to realize, let's create policies, because apprenticeship is effective, but it takes you 2 years. We need people to come up to speed with our style, our system, our quality much quicker, because we're growing. We gotta, So we just started to dump our brains into written form. And so we had workshop retreats, company retreats, and we break out into workshops. Okay, designers, and some were like 1 guy or 2 people, and on the web, what do we do? What are all the mistakes? So we just started off with, what are the worst case scenarios and everything? Those are the easiest to articulate. Oh, I hate it when, and then we put the spaces. I hate it when this happens. I hate it when that happens. When clients say this, and we jot all that down, and we flip it from the negative to the positive. What are policies that are going to prevent that? We write them. What do you really, really need to have happen specifically on your editing? Well, I need folders this way. We created a folder structure. Comps go here, output files go here. Never are we going to use the word final in a file name. Okay, because you're final 3, final 8. Screw that. Because we had a handoff. Because Mr. Final is not there on the weekend, and I rushed in on a Saturday morning because I got a meeting with a client, and I'm looking through all his crap and his freaking layers. And what's relevant and what's not. Turn it off, what's in, what's off. I just need to change 1 damn letter. And so we would create layer structures in Photoshop, and the desktop. What the crap? I mean, we don't use a desktop for stuff like that. And our little interns come into our place, and it's just like, break them now. So you have to, if you don't write it down, you can't duplicate yourself.
Yeah.
So you need to make policy. Don't go through the apprenticeship program. Do it as an after the policy. Don't do what we did. Do your policies first, and you got to keep an open mind. Creatively, the most flexible part of any production is the design. Okay? And just because you have a design vision that goes this way, that other person, if you let them, and that's the big trick, man. If you will let them, you might find strength, because they can flourish and do it wrong. And then they can have the confidence that you let them and flourish and say, that's great, man, let's get another comp in. And this time on this comp, let's do this, but I'll show your comp. Okay, so they're all confident because their comp is credible and you found it legit, you didn't attack it and criticize it, and they're gonna build this next comp more toward your liking, and then you do it, and then they saw what worked better, and then they're willing to receive and then you write your policy. Here's why we do things this way. And then they back you up on it.
And ultimately, too, as a leader, you have to understand, okay, I can sit here and control my work and make sure that this is done perfectly and not grow in these other areas where no one else can grow in. So then as a leader, you have to understand, okay, what do I need to do that only I can do, and what can I give to someone else? And then when you have that understanding, then it's a lot easier to give up that control in a way. But little by little, you'll have to say, all right, finish this project, and then walk off, right? It's like, it's a teaching role where it is, okay, what is it that you want done, and how are you going to communicate it to that designer, to that video editor, to make sure that they understand it? And even then, it's like, all right, I have to do this too. I had to learn how to be a leader and how to properly communicate and delegate things and saying, okay, this is what needs to be done, 1, 2, 3. Cool, hey, look, just to make sure that we're both on the same page, what 3 steps are you going to follow through on? And then they tell me. And I'm like, okay, cool, we're on the same page, we get it. And it's not this micromanagement, because I don't want to micromanage, but I want to make sure that I'm properly communicating what I want. Because if I didn't, if they give me a project and it looks bad, it's not their fault, it's mine as a leader.
And in commercial art, you've got a bigger margin of error than you do in fine art. If you're making a movie, then it better be the way you want it. But in commercial art, is your PMS 268 going to sell way more tacos than her PMS 269? Ultimately, get off it, man. people are gonna freaking buy the tacos. So all we need them to do, it's not gonna make a difference. So this is not fine art, it's commercial art. It's gotta be utilitarian. So if somebody, John Maxwell is a leader that I kind of follow, you know, he's got a lot of little good books that I've kind of really used and applied that same day in my work with our team. And it's like, if somebody can do something about 80% as good as you can, then just let them do it. Because you're gonna get more you're gonna feel more gratified at the end of the month with everything that you did when you've got some people operating at 80% and you're operating at your 100 in the area that only you can. What you're able to affect in this world and the dent that you can make is much bigger, and in the long run those people are going to come up, and don't be scared to let them go past your capability. I mean, if everybody bounced in my company right now, I think I just said that without thinking it. But I'm not afraid to let everyone be a lot better at what they do than I am. And if I open the door and they mowed through and it turned into something else, because I had to learn how to say, yeah, that could also work. Go for it. I really don't know, but go for it. Let me know how it goes. And if it breaks, does it crush our company? No. If we're gonna go out of business because people are taking calculated risks that make sense, then I'd be happier flipping burgers, man. I'd rather go out of business if a world's gonna punish us for trying to do the right thing. So based on that, I'm kind of fearless. I let people, if it's based on sound reasoning, get out there and tear it up. And if we mess up and it tarnishes our name, usually the people that tarnishes your name, I've seen those people go out of business and leave the city before they can talk bad about our company, because there's really nothing bad about it. We've got good integrity. You know what I'm saying? So let them mess up on their timeline and let it output a little bit. And if you're that squirrely about it, they're not at 80%, we'll guide them a little. But you're going to have to write down that policy, because if you don't write it down, how can they freaking read your mind? And then you're going to change your mind. You're an artist. It's like you're the worst person in the world to try to please, bro. You know what I'm saying? The worst. I couldn't do it. And I'm like, are you sure? Well, and then I got my opinion. So then what are you guys going to do? Meanwhile, the client's waiting for their freaking crap. You know? So, any other questions?
So what would you say? Would you say that like physical portfolios are still like relevant? Like, what would be ideal for a graphic designer interviewing, coming to you, like the USB portfolio, the online presence, the physical portfolio? Are they all equally important, would you say?
I would have them all. And then I'd start out with the physical, and when you sit there in an interview, you don't ever have to open it. Okay, don't open it. Only upon request. When you come with a big black book, or they see you carry it and you leave it off to the side, don't open it. You know, you say, you have your portfolio? Yes, it's online here. I brought some printed samples. We can start online. Okay, cool. If you brought your printed samples, they'll ask you for it. And then they'll enjoy it. If they ask you, they're probably kind of looking forward to it. But you can never tell with an art director, you know. Some people, they're kind of eccentric, and it's like, oh, well, you didn't take the time to do a hard copy, therefore, you know, it's just like, bro, I got it, okay? So whatever you want, man.
Yeah, like for me, because we've sat down like between myself and our art director and interviewing some graphic designers before it even gets to Ray. And like me, I like the online portfolio much better because it shows me that you've got a little bit of online or web experience. For Danny, he would love to be able to just like pick it up, smell it. He smells everything that we've done.
He's our art director.
Yeah, he's our art director. So you don't know
like
who's going to
wine.
be interviewing you, so I agree completely with Ray, yeah.
But you know what I do with the print stuff also? It's like, hey, did you print this one? You kind of made it yourself and everything for this one project? No, this got 1,000 printed out and this went out. Okay, well, let me see the print sample. And I'm looking for, you know, registration and overlap on the folds. I can kind of see, you know, how I got, and then I can ask them, all right, so, you know, where'd you have this printed? Well, I got printed here. Yeah, because the black's not consistent with the back. And it's not their fault, but my thing is, did you notice? Like, do you notice what's wrong with your print job that you're showing me? Do you even know? Are you even freaking aware? And it's like, no, it looks amazing. All right. Well, we'll call you. Really, we don't have time. Because what happens is, you know, those of us who do know got to turn our backs and deal with clients and stuff, and all we're depending on that graphic designer to say, no man, we can't get this out. Somebody's got to say this. I'm not going to let this out. Why not? Because of this. Good eye. Usually we're like, thank goodness you saw that. But if you're not seeing it, and how are you going to see it? You got to get out there and work. Even give your time. You're like that waiter trying to get a roll. Go give your time to places so you can get that experience. It's valuable. Sometimes it's more valuable than the money you get for the time you spend.
Can we get the name of the book?
Yeah, Pricing and Ethical Guidelines. This is 11th edition, and they're probably at the 35th edition.
I think they're 13. So they're not
Okay,
more.
good. It's because you never know.
Yeah. I have a question. So, in this area, a lot of the times, the students will go to school and they bounce and they leave. They go work somewhere else, which is great. That's a great experience for them. What advice would you have for students here that are about to graduate? That, like, you know what, I want to make my own company. I want to like create an agency. I want to. So there are steps that they obviously have to do. Need to build up clients and other things and get everything organized and together. But what are some things that kind of kept you guys going, you know, through all that turmoil from all the other companies that kind of went bankrupt, and you're still alive and you're still going strong? So what advice would you have for those students here?
Okay, debt. The number one thing is usually what kills people is the debt, and it's not taking a big loan. It's the constant, what seems like little debt, but it's constant. And people don't have the sense of time in business, like the cumulative effects of a decision or a choice. You know, $5 a month forever. Usually people coming out of a creative background don't have a sense of how it impacts their life. Okay, and I got that sense. Now, my background's not in business at all. It's a advertising major with a theater minor, acting and directing. Okay, yeah, they didn't have, and I would have gone to film school if they just had that, you know, but I didn't. And so it was mostly just acting and working at the public radio station and enjoying that. But so these lessons, the principle first is like, I don't want to go into debt, and that one decision probably resulted in us still being here. Okay, not wanting to go into debt. Well, then that's being satisfied with a lot less. You know, a lot of times creatives like the prestige of a location. Oh, cool, I want the coolest space, and we got to be downtown, and we're the creative shop, great, and you put all over social media all pictures of your space. Then they don't realize that it's a whole year of that rent, and you have one project that's going to finish and what's coming behind it. And then growth means that the money that you thought was going to go to rent now has to suddenly go other places, or go to payroll, or something changed in your life. And so I have a mentor. That's another thing. Dad, get a mentor, and that mentor is not in the creative arts. They're in manufacturing, and they're a little older. And he says, "Look, man, how are you doing? How's your family? Because if that's not on lock, your business is built on top of it, and it's going to crumble right all over through it. So even if your business is not going that well, your family's strong, you have the fortitude to keep going. If your business is going great, but then you just broke up with your girlfriend who you thought you were going to marry, and you can't hack it anymore, you don't care about your clients at all. So that business is going to crumble, even though it's doing amazing. And if you have a partner and you don't have your personal life together, you're not whole. We have the 6 values, right? Mm-hmm. And one of them is stay fit, but also emotionally fit.
Right.
Oh man, that's so critical. So you're going to get in a partnership. Beware of partnerships. Beware of being top heavy. That's another one I would tell you. We were 3 senior partners, and every time a paycheck comes in, that guy had to get sucked up with 3 people, and then the staff and our equipment and everything else just kind of had to figure it out. Or the 3 people are not eating, and everyone else, you know, we're keeping the business going, but then the tensions are rising. You know, 3 young single partners. Okay, one partner gets married, has kids. Everything changes in the business. No, that's personal life, and this is business over here. That is a complete lie, according to my experience. Okay, complete lie. Okay. What happens in people's personal life immediately affects people's motivation. We're going to buy a house. Oh snap. You better not be letting stuff drop because they're counting on it, right? So we're all serious here. Things like that, or getting in a big debt. You know, we took out one loan, and that was to hire a Christian. One loan. We talked a long time about doing that, man. And it was like a really low interest. It was like an SBA loan, you know, and it wasn't even going to cover her whole thing. It was going to just be a partial, but we needed to have it, or she was going to bounce at that time. So we did, and it was obviously it was a great decision, but that was it. Everything else was just kind of. I'll be honest with you. I was talking to you all about the cool spaces we're in. We started in our garage, my family's freaking garage. Like my wife, it's like, hey, you know, I'm gonna leave my government job as senior web developer at the county government for a while, and can we do this in the garage? So I had a shed built in the back, and we just kind of did it out of the house for a while. You know, it's weird, but no more rent, so we didn't have that every month just pounding. And then we made the mistake of having too top-heavy on leadership, but we survived it. If we wouldn't have been, you know, just it woulda, coulda, shoulda, but our expenses would have been a lot less. So those are things, those are definitely don't do's, or be careful if you're starting on your own. Partners, the debt and the consistent debt over time, don't get in over your heads. Even if you think you can manage it, probably go half of what you think you can manage. Oh, that sucks. No, it doesn't. If you have a pencil and a piece of paper, you have an ad agency. So get it done. Right?
Thank you.
Great question. I think you were pushing like the diversity aspect and stuff. But I've noticed that a lot of companies, maybe not in the local area, but they always try to get niche designers. And I know it's going towards more generalists. But what would be the best way, do you think, portraying like your portfolio? Like I said, you don't even get the interview unless you have a decent portfolio. So do you use your portfolio to market yourself as that niche or as the generalist itself?
You know, that we were talking specifically about this area, in this region. If you have a very strong portfolio in a niche, that's fine. But I would say your resume should include other capabilities.
So your resume is...
Yeah, you can tell them straight up, look, here, I focused all my time on this. But I also have this capability, and that's also in my portfolio. Click over there and you'll see those, but here's where I've concentrated. So that shows diversity, but it also shows a concentration and seriousness. So if they're looking for an illustrator and you respond to that, well, you're an illustrator who, when that job's over, and it will be, it doesn't last forever, even if you're doing world-class stuff. When that job's over, you're still relevant to that company.
And I would say we're coming from the perspective of an agency too. There's others that if you're going to work within, like, let's say a hospital, they're going to hire a graphic designer. They probably want someone that's got that healthcare experience. They're going to probably value that over something else. So for us as an agency, we handle all types of clients, so we prefer, I think, more of that generalist approach.
And just specifically on the healthcare, because it could apply to different industries, there are certain rules to graphic design and advertising that apply only to healthcare. And it's going to cost the hospital too long to try to train you to output a design that works when they're trying to move quickly. So if you don't know what's called CMS, they want CMS ready designers. And that's where you're talking about your niche. If you want to learn about that, chances are go to an agency who may have worked in the healthcare, because I didn't know anything about CMS until we started doing it, and then we have to learn real quick. And we did. We got all the regulations, we brushed up on it, and now we can transfer that knowledge to designers pretty quickly. So if you were to call upon us and ask us, hey, I'm going for an interview to a hospital, we can tell you, okay, well, here's our CMS regs. Go ahead, go home and read that, and do this, do this, do this, and you should be good.
What do you see as, you seem very cutting edge.
Sorry.
No, that's a good thing.
Thank you.
What sorts of trends do you see, you know, sort of as a whole in the design world for commercial design?
I think understanding it's easy to say, and I kind of don't like the words, but understanding social media and the changes there. The thing is, your canvas is changing. Your canvas is changing, and it's changing quickly. So many times it's also altering the ideas. Okay, you can't. I used to be comfortable saying, well, this idea will work, and we'll repurpose it for everything. But, and we've not had this discussion, but I've quietly kind of gotten a hard swallow when the social media stuff comes up, because one, it's not scary, it's just like the ideas the way you have to transmit ideas must change. Okay? You cannot concept selling a burger on a billboard or a TV commercial the same way that you would concept it for social media. It's too benign. It's just, it falls flat. The interactivity must be built into the concept. You have to have an understanding that communication is going to happen two ways. That there's going to be a bounce back, and what's the landing page they're going to see, right? What's that page on Facebook? The Canvas page? Yeah.
Canvas page?
Yeah, the idea of a Canvas page and how it works, and what are all the options of that Canvas page. As a designer, if you don't have the understanding of the functionality, even if I don't get into social media, that's fine. But at least do it enough to where you have the understanding of the tools. Then it's going to change like in a couple months. The thing is, but there's a good reason for it. See, because when people when the founders of social media, and like Snapchat's going through some nastiness right now. They just got an IPO out, and they're valued at $27 billion, right? Or right before the IPO, like this last year, they lost $500 million. Okay, because they did an IPO, they're worth at $27 billion because of the buy-in. But there's a bubble growing because it doesn't change their model. There's no cash in it. They're not monetizing their model that well, right? Now, why does all that matter to a graphic designer? Okay, when these social media companies learn how to make money, this whole thing about connecting the whole world, that's a bunch of bullcrap. Yesterday we just had Christian was teaching me, it's like what you posted on Facebook got only seen by a fraction of your followers. A fraction of your freaking followers. I thought if I put it up there, all of my own followers, I'm not trying to send it to the world, it's just I thought all my peeps would see it in their freaking timeline. No, it ain't gonna appear in the timeline. It's good content, man, it's freaking good. No, they're not gonna see it. Why? Because you gotta pay for that reach. Right? And now your clients, your business people, forget, they're even worse. Like, I'm lagging behind in our agency. So you're calling us cutting edge, I'm calling her cutting edge. I'm like, wow, man, freaking teach me that. And our clients forget it. Our clients think, well, just build me an ad and we'll launch it and it'll go worldwide. Everybody will see it. It's, no, man. While that was possible and highly unlikely 2 years ago, it is impossible now. Now you have to pay for it. So as a graphic designer, the trend is understand how those tools are changing and understand how, like, if Jim Henson were alive today, they would come to him and say, I need an experience for Facebook to sell Wilkins coffee. Can you do it? Now, would he have made puppets? Maybe. Maybe he would have made a puppet skit that was fun. Maybe he wouldn't have done puppets at all. Maybe Jim Henson would have never been Jim Henson, right? But he adapted to this new medium called TV. And he made 5-second commercials when cigarette boxes were dancing with girls' legs for 3 minutes. Right? That was freaking revolutionary. A puppet? You kidding me? On TV for 5 seconds? So, as a graphic designer, I would put you in Jim Henson's shoes back in the early 60s and say, understand because he understood the medium. He wasn't a graphic designer in the Walt Disney sense. Walt Disney went out and sketched, and he made he was in advertising first. He made print ads. But then Homeboy said, why is it all static when we can make these kind of moving pictures? And so he did exactly what Jim Henson did, but back in 1928, right? So as a graphic designer today, my advice is, to challenge you to even do better than everyone else, is learn me. Every single person that has made it big has understood new media and how to manipulate it to communicate in an innovative way. Well, Disney did it, Pixar with their media and the way they're processing their computers, Jim Henson in between that, those were innovators. And if you can find a way to understand the tools, which right now it happens to be mobile devices and social media, if you can understand those tools and design for that two-way feedback, design for it, you're gonna get hired, or you're gonna run your own company pretty good. Because there's a lot of people that don't see that. A lot, like 99.9% of the world doesn't see it. They just want to make money off of your knowledge.
Any other questions? Good.
I'm wondering, as a newbie in the artist industry, as you said, it's a little hard to get a full-time job in this area. So I, like many people I know, go for freelancing. But the freelancing you're talking about is you have a target in your head. Oh, I like this company, and I send them my portfolio and my idea, and maybe they'll like it and give me some project. And what I learned from other people is they go online and find a website that offer freelancers job, and a lot of the budget the client put out there was incredibly low, and I was wondering, how come people can accept that kind of an offer? And I mean, if approaching to a certain company that you like is one way, what is the other way to do it online? You know, should I go to some website and look for some freelance job that's not worth the time?
Yeah, you can be like a